The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Paranormal 5 is bringing you Parapeeps New England to help showcase some of the best in the paranormal and unexplained in the area. Their goal? To show the strength of paranormal unity by giving everyone in the field a voice. Join them as they discuss everything from haunted locations, aliens, metaphysical, cryptids, and much, much more. So sit back, enjoy the show, and as always, thank you for listening.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back once again to episode number 6 of Parapeeps New England. My name is Rich.
And I'm Missy.
And we are of Paranormal 5, a Maine-based paranormal family. First off, I just want to start off by thanking everybody once again for coming back for this new month's episode, and also thank you for anybody who checked out last month's episode with Jen from Maine Paranormal Society. We really appreciated her coming on with us. So we're going to get right into it tonight. We are excited tonight to have a couple members of GRIM Paranormal with us tonight. So we will not waste much more time, and we will bring you guys up. Travis, Jeff, GRIM Paranormal, how you guys doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good.
Good, awesome, man. Well, we super thank you guys for coming, and I understand we got 2 of the 4 members here, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us, and yeah, well, go ahead.
Jeff, I think you might be muted.
I was.
Oh, there you go.
I was trying to make sure I didn't make any noise during that, so.
All right, well, thank you.
It's casual, super casual, so.
So we were going to kind of start off and kind of ask you guys the normal, I feel like everybody's go-to icebreaker question, but how did you both get into the paranormal? What got you into this field?
We'll
go ahead, Jeff.
There we go. Jeff first.
Yeah. So for me, it was growing up. I didn't really have a whole lot of paranormal stuff, like anything really happening around me. But it was kind of a family thing that we would all get around, and we watched a lot of horror movies and stuff like that, anyways. But when like the Ghost Hunter show started up on the Sci-Fi Channel, there, like that was something we all kind of sat around and watched, and from there it just kind of turned into like I bought a voice recorder and was messing around with that at like cemeteries, and then when I'd met my fiance Shelley, she was kind of into that too, and Travis and Dannielle were both into that as well, and we were all kind of friends, and that's kind of what kicked it all off. Well, for me at least. He has a different story for him, obviously.
Well, that's
actually, we've been doing this for 10 years now, so it's pretty cool. It's our 10-year anniversary this year.
That's awesome.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Happy anniversary.
So for me, thank you. For me, I had a couple different things happen to me as a child. I remember, I think I was like 8 years old, and we had this spare room, a den, that had mittens and hats in a basket. So I was digging around looking for a hat and mittens in the middle of winter. You guys know my brother Toby.
Yep.
I thought Toby had gone running past me up the stairs, and I even heard like footsteps going up the stairs. So I got up, walked upstairs, looked around, no one's around. I came back downstairs. My mom was in the kitchen all by herself, getting ready for dinner or whatever. And I said, "Did Toby go upstairs?" And she's like, "No one's inside." It's like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't say anything to her, but I was like, that really freaked me out, because I know damn well I saw somebody out of the corner of my eye go upstairs, and I actually heard them going up the stairs.
Yeah.
Also, I think my mom had a lot to do with it, because she always watched Unsolved Mysteries and those types of shows. I think that's a common denominator with a lot of these people that are in the field. And then, like the book fairs, I was the kid that always came home with Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot books, while the other kids are buying Scooby-Doo books, So it's been kind of something I've been interested in for a long time, and then about 10 years ago really started focusing on not just playing everything off, everything you hear. Don't just assume it's the cat or it's something else. Like,
Sure.
actually look to see if it could be something else.
That's awesome.
And now, so you say that kind of first experience you had at 8 years old. I mean, up to that point, I mean, was that something that was, because like Missy and I, we come from very different backgrounds. Like she comes from growing up with everybody in the family talking about paranormal, wanting to investigate it, being involved in it, where on my side it was the complete opposite. There was nothing. So did you find yourself like able to like go and try to, like, I mean, obviously 8 years old, but I mean, was that something you could talk about? Was it something that you had experienced before, or like what did that experience do for you, or what did you?
For me, my mom was always into that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember at one point we were teenagers, and we were certain we were watching UFOs in the sky, so we even had a video recorder out and recording UFOs. My dad, I don't think, was into any of that stuff. He's a very black and white guy. There's no such thing. Although he's starting to come around now that Toby and I have been doing this so long. He actually talks to us about it and stuff, which is kind of cool.
That is awesome. It's nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, what does GRIM stand for? Your group? Does it stand for something, or is it?
Jeff's name actually starts with a G.
No, it doesn't.
No, it stands for Ghost Research and Investigations of Maine.
Awesome. So do you guys do like house investigations, like residential? Do you guys kind of do like go and pay for locations, like to be able to go and pay at locations to be able to investigate them? Like, what type of investigations do you guys do?
More or less lately, it's been we'll rent out a space. We haven't done a residential in quite a while. And it's something we've been talking about, we've been wanting to get back into, because we've been doing a lot of bigger events sort of thing, like Parafest or like the Swan Island event. And it's been years now since we've done an actual just us in a residence sort of thing, sitting down and doing like an investigation that way. And it's something that we need to get back to.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
What do you guys have? I mean, obviously you've done a mix of both. Do you find different purpose in the different styles of investigation? And for example, we just we had done a lot of the I like to call them pay to plays, where you go and you pay to go to these events, and you go, and it's more of a casual kind of fun setting. And then we were able to kind of take on some of our first home investigations, and the seeing that process of the homeowner go from being whether it's worried, whether it's just she's got questions or he's got questions, and then the event takes place, and then you kind of see the peace it brings them at the end of the event. It kind of gave it a new meaning. So would you guys have a preference as to your investigation styles, having done both of them?
No, for me, I think they both are totally different. In one aspect, the public events, like my wife isn't very fond of the public events either, but I like to show people what we do and teach them how to do it,
right,
and how to do it safely, and the different equipment. Like, for me, I get a kick out of people hearing a spirit come across spirit box for the first time. The look on their face, like, whoa, what was that?
Sure.
Because I kind of remember that my first time hearing it. I was like, is that for real? So I really like the public events because of that, because I like to teach and train people like how to do it. The home investigations, the private homes, are neat too, because you can kind of go in and kind of give answers to them if they have questions about things, and hopefully try to resolve a situation. Jeff, remember that the one in Oakland we did, the family with a teenage girl? You want to tell them about that?
Well, I don't honestly remember a ton about that. Well, I don't, because I remember that Dannielle was involved with the girl that she was speaking with there, and from what I recall, at least, we'd gotten to the house, and they said that some sort of funny stuff was happening. I think that there was the usual footsteps, and they'd hear like doors and stuff like that, and there was weird like sort of temperature changes in different rooms too. That it was a pretty weird place, really beautiful home, but the what was going on also at the time was that there was a teenage girl in the house who had a lot of like emotional, like private sort of issues that she was going through, and that was what sort of we thought might have been going on, is she had I don't know how to describe that. I guess that's the weird part for me, Travis. How did you guys put that together?
So when they would get in arguments with her and her mom, the mother described a time where a picture of the family came straight. I'll show you guys because you can actually see me. Came straight off the wall and then dropped straight down.
Okay.
The mother sat there and watched it happen when the daughter had gone into the bedroom. So, researching about poltergeist activity, you learn that it's a lot of times it's the teenage girl that's in the home going through puberty.
Sure.
That's actually something that she's manifesting without even knowing she's doing it. So I think we recommended that the family had seek counseling for the child, and the last time I reached out to them maybe a month or two after, and everything had seemed to settle down already at that point. So that's kind of neat too.
And the really cool part too was that Dannielle, Travis's wife, had actually gone in like a one-on-one and talked to her, because she's actually a kind of a counselor on her own.
Oh, okay.
She is a counselor. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
an awesome dynamic
she
to
went
have,
in and had
too.
a nice one-to-one talk with her, and just try to give her an opportunity to get things off her chest.
Good. Good, yeah, and I feel like too, especially if you do more of those home investigations, you become much more involved. Where when you go, again, if you go to these pay-to-plays, you're going for the night, you're having your experiences, and you're going to go talk about them later. But when you're helping out these families, you've got I look at it, you've got a family that already maybe didn't feel comfortable talking about it. They finally find someone they can reach out to. Now you're their sole outlet. You're their voice of reason as far as what's going on with them. So, not only do you have the actual investigation, but who knows what comes after that, and if there's more follow-ups and long-term friendships, or needing to be that long-term support for them too.
Yep.
Yeah, the things that I really like about the residential ones is you have a lot more sort of freedom when it comes to what you're doing. So you can refine your methods, the way that you're doing things. You can kind of experiment with a lot more things. Obviously, there's the helping the family, or trying to find some sort of an answer. But that's the big difference between, like, the residential, for me at least, the residential and the events, is with the events, because we haven't really been to one that we are sort of guests at. Usually it's something that we're running, so it's, we kind of get stuck in a rut of doing the same sort of things over and over again, because we're showing different people, different processes, so we're going over the same stuff over and over again, and it doesn't give us a whole lot of opportunity to kind of experiment, without the risk of something us looking like complete asses.
Right. Yeah, because you want to go with what works, or what has worked for you guys. And again, it's repetitive to you, but to the person that just paid to come and have their first experience, it's all new to them. So.
Right.
It's almost a rehearsed thing too. A lot of times we'll do the same basic setup and follow along with the same program.
Awesome. So you guys, obviously, we kind of started talking about like your public events and everything like that. How long have you guys been doing these events?
This is the 5th year for Parafest.
Awesome.
And that's the first public event we actually did.
Oh, awesome.
And then we try to do 1 or 2 a year outside of Parafest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we've done stuff at the same location, actually, in Vassalboro, the mill up there. Like fundraiser type things for the mill itself, where we don't take any of the proceeds for it all, and all of it goes right back into the mill, because it's a big location, and it's used for the town a lot. The town uses it for, like, upstairs they have baseball and softball practice. They have like a BMX track sort of, or biking sort of track that they use up there. They do a lot of weddings there. Mm-hmm. So it's really useful for the community. So it's anything we can do to try and help those guys. We try to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So is there any like memorable like location that you guys have done for the public, like a memorable spot, like where like there was some really crazy activity, like where a location that really just stuck out for you guys?
Well, Jeff wasn't with me at the time, but I had gone up to a place called Orneville, Maine. Mm-hmm. Not Cornville, it's Orneville, O-R-N.
Orneville.
And it's a plantation now, because it's too small to be an actual town. But this guy, Henry Orne, came up from Boston in the 1800s. He brought with him slaves. And then the first winter, a lot of the slaves had passed away. And now they report seeing figures on the property, shadow figures, moaning, and the sounds of chains rattling. So I had brought a psychic with us. He had no idea where we were going. We met in Waterville, drove an hour and a half north to this location, middle of the woods. We're walking down the trail, and he starts talking. He's like, there's people that were here. They didn't belong here. They were put here.
Oh, wow.
And it's like I think they worked here, but they didn't want to be here. And it was crazy how he started picking up that, because I didn't even realize myself that there was even slaves in Maine. I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I know. You just kind of think of, when you think of slavery, you think of the South.
South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the furthest point north.
So you did an event. That was an event that you did?
No, that was.
Oh.
No, I thought you said non-event. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I said it was an event. It's okay. It's all good. That was an awesome story.
Cut that out.
Cut.
No, I'm not cutting that. That was good.
Good Shay.
So anyways, at one point we're all standing in the middle of the trail, and one of the reports was that they heard chains rattling. Well, we actually have that posted on YouTube, the video for this, but you hear. I thought it was a dog chain. We'd seen a hunter earlier in the night, so I thought it was that guy with a dog or something.
Yeah.
But all of us turn our flashlights down the trail. We're looking because we all heard it. Like, what the hell was that? And then the psychic says, stand back, they're coming. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
So we move off the side of the trail, and then this thick energy passed through us, almost like in my head, I envisioned like a horse and buggy passing through it at that speed. You see like our hair move on not my hair. You see other people's hair move on
Your
on
mustache
the camera.
didn't move,
Couple
ears,
of whiskers
nothing.
in the wind.
My nose hair.
Yeah.
But every hair on my body stood on end. It was like just this powerful energy that passed through. Wow. For me, that's one of the most incredible experiences I've had.
Wow, awesome. that is really cool.
So for event stuff, I would say that it was probably the last thing we did at Swan Island. We had an EMF sort of session, and fortunately we'd gotten all of this on camera as well. But we were standing around, we were asking questions, and some of the K2 EMF detectors started going off a bit. So we had the guests sort of moving around to make sure that there wasn't anything nearby that was setting it off, and we ended up setting them on the floor to see if we could get reactions out of them. We set them probably about a foot and a half gap in between the middle of them, and we started asking questions and asking if you can light up one or light up both. And the responses that we were getting for them, we were asking them directly, like, hey, if you're a little boy, light this one up, or light both of them up. I don't remember exactly the questions that we'd asked, but we were getting very intelligent responses from that. We were getting both of them to light up, and then we would ask them, like, okay, could you step away for a second? And a second later, they would both die off completely. It's like, okay, can you come back? And then they'd come back on it. And I'm not talking just little blips either.
Sure.
These were hitting like into the red line of the EMFs. And it was by far the best EMF session I've ever seen, ever. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
really cool.
we're using like yes and no questions. So light both up for yes, one for no, and that type of thing. And from what I understood, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but he said he was a little boy. We got him down to the age of 5.
About 5,
Yeah, he said that he asked him if his parents were with him. He said no. I said, do you know where your mom and dad are? No. I said, are you scared? And then lit up both of them. Yes. Like it was really, really kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you shared that video with me, and it was heartbreaking. Like, it's heartbreaking to think of stuff like that.
And you said something there, Jeff, too, that I thought was interesting as far as, you doing the EMF response. And we had just got a chance to do a private investigation here locally last week. And we were using a REM pod and communicating that way. And as impressive as it was for them, we got locked into this communication with them, and same thing, lighting things up for yes, no reactions for no. And as impressive it was seeing them light it up, they would stop it on command. It was like, can you please step away now? And it would just stop. And it was like, that was even more impressive than the yes and the no.
Right. That is like yes or no, because that you can kind of like, you could ask a yes or no, and you don't necessarily know what's going on as far as the energy itself. And like if it dies down, it's like, oh, that's a no. But it could just be that they ran out of their juice.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, can you come closer or further away, and then they respond to that, that's like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Travis, you had mentioned on that investigation you did where you brought the psychic up, and that they weren't aware of what they were walking into. Do you find yourself on a lot of your guys' investigation liking somebody having like that blind entrance where they maybe don't have the history of the location? Do you find that useful, or do you guys use that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of justifies what they're talking about if it does match up with the history that you know of the place. Yeah. We've only done that a couple times where we brought a psychic along that had no clue what we're doing or where we're going. Just I'll go.
Yeah.
But it was the same guy both times, Mike. But both times he like nailed it.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
Pretty crazy.
That is really cool. And Jeff, I have to agree, Swan Island was awesome. We got a lot of EVPs from the cemetery. Cemetery was awesome. So again, if you're gonna have us come back, even though it was a haul out there, we want
She's
the
under
cemetery.
She talked about it for weeks after. She's still talking about it.
That cemetery is pretty creepy.
It was
neat
really creepy. Like, you know, I didn't want to hang outside of the cemetery area for very long. Like, it was crazy.
It's awesome.
Cemetery was cool. You missed out.
I will not miss the next one, I assure you.
Yeah, we'll do another one next summer.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got to talk about logistics because I would think it would be pretty cool if we could do a 2-night thing up there actually.
Yeah, I totally.
For all the work you do getting in.
It would be a lot less stress too. Yeah, right. The whole hauling everything in and then 12 hours or about 24 hours later have to haul everything back out.
Yeah.
You know, it would be nice to really get out there and have some independent time too for people to choose what they want to do, where they want to go, sort of deal.
Yeah.
We did actually talk about that this year, possibly doing the second night, and it was like more than half off for the second night too.
Really?
So I probably should have done it. But I was like, I don't know. It looks like rain in the forecast.
Yeah.
Every time we go out there, it rains. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just the crowd that you're bringing, the energy that you're bringing. It's crazy. So
it was a good crowd.
It was awesome. It was such a great time. And again, we're all still talking about it. So it was definitely one of the best investigations that I've been on in a long time.
Awesome.
So that was good. So are there any like goal locations for these public events that you have in mind? Like, or do you guys try to like stick kind of like close here in Maine, or do you have like some big crazy ideas and goals that you want to work towards?
So any money that we do raise with our group that isn't already given out to charities and stuff, we actually have a pretty good sized fund that we haven't done anything with. That eventually I'd like to have our group go out to some of these places out of state to pay for the trip, and it doesn't cost Jeff or I or our wives any money at all. That's something I think we want to do in the future. But as far as setting up a public event, I don't know if I have the balls to do that.
Really?
Be out of state, not really know what I'm getting into.
Be out of your element, right?
Yeah. We haven't really talked too much about places out of state. We even actually this year we were debating on potentially getting into the Poland Spring Resort to seeing if they would be interested in letting us do Parafest there. But I never got a response back from them. We actually drove up to the place to see if we could find like sort of some place to go in and talk to someone.
That's over near like Mechanic Falls, isn't it? Is it down that way?
It was.
The Poland Spring Plant, is that over near like Mechanic Falls in that area? The Poland Spring Plant?
I think a lot of that had to do with COVID too, because they weren't renting out rooms and stuff, so it's probably pretty quiet then. But that would be a place that if we did a Parafest or a huge event there, there's all kinds of space. You got the cemetery, you have the different buildings. Like, that would be fabulous.
Awesome. Yeah. And
that's a pretty fun goal.
And so speaking of Parafest, just to kind of go back to a little bit, so you said this should be number 6, correct? Fifth. Okay, so take us back to the first one. How did you guys come up with it? The location, and how did it all come to be? Because it's been an awesome event for you guys, and for everyone that gets to go. So what kind of started that, and how did you get to work with the mills and the building and?
Jeez, I'm trying to think. I think the first time I met Ray, who's the owner of the mill, we had investigated his house. Because he lets paranormal groups come in. I think he's had over 1,400 people just go to his house to do investigations.
That's cool.
When I say house, it's the mill agent's house. It's a huge building. He's got like 5 apartments in it there right now, I think.
Sure.
So it's a big place. So it's not just a little shack that he's letting 1,400 people walk into. And that building is more crazier than the mill, I think. We had the SLS camera upstairs one night, and there's a lady sitting on the couch, and she wanted to talk to her dad. And then all of a sudden, "Dad, are you here?" The SLS camera picks up this figure sitting right next to her.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
She says, "I love you, Dad." She like leans into the figure, and the figure leans into her. Like, that was pretty cool.
Wow.
So that's the first time I met Ray, was when we went to his house, and then we'd gone there a couple times, I think, and then we started asking him about the mill. I'm like, "Does anyone ever investigate your mill?" He's like, "I've had a couple groups go in there." And then Jeff, you had come, right? With us.
Yeah, I was there. I think you had been there, I think, with Toby, and you guys did one on your own before the first time that I had gone with you. So I think that when I'd gone, there was a second time that we had been there at all. And I think that was around the time that you guys had started talking about doing like an event there.
Oh yeah, that's where I was going with that. That first time with Jeff, we were in building 2 on the 3rd floor, and it sounded like someone moving around the corner. So we had said, "If someone's there, can you come towards us?" And all of a sudden, you hear do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, wow. It's
like these little footsteps that come right at us. Like, I actually backed up a little bit, I think, to brace myself to get my ass kicked, but nothing was there.
Wow.
But yeah, when we realized how big that building is, 250,000 square feet, Toby, Jeff, and I started talking about doing a Parafest or a convention of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it would be neat to have the different paranormal groups, because back then, no one really talked to each other. It was all like this big competition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who could do better than the next guy. So we said, well, why don't we do some kind of convention where everyone can come, hang out, have guest speakers, and then have the public come in and see what we do, and kind of make it something more normal for the public to know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as like an exact time or date that we decided to do it, I can't remember that, but I think it's just something we just talked about for a while. And
well, it's
never
grown
dared to do
so
it.
much too for you guys, like over the years. Like I know you guys have had Lauren Coleman come. One year you had John Zaffis.
That was awesome.
I can
John
imagine.
Zaffis
he is great.
awesome.
I can imagine. Like, I feel like I met him when he came to Portland. I think it was in 2018, 19. I don't remember. But he was just so down to earth, like so kind, like so soft spoken, like just he was awesome. Yeah.
When he came to our event too, that was the really cool part. Is I think we asked him if he wanted to be part of the group, and he's like, yeah, sure. But then, like, when he got into it, he was super into it too. Like, he was loving it. He was in there asking a bunch of questions. Like, he could have just come in and like just been part of the group, but he wasn't. He was like a super active part of it.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, it was really cool to see.
That was actually really cool to have the experience to ghost hunt with John Zaffis, someone that I'd watched for the last 10 years on TV.
Right,
so.
right.
Exactly. No, exactly. Like, and he's like, he learned from like Ed and Lorraine. Like,
Right.
he was a part of like that.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's just, it's really cool.
Well, and it actually brings me to the next question I want to ask you guys. So from going through your guys' bio, I've seen that you guys have gotten a chance to be featured or be seen on a couple different series and different shows. I know, I think Up at the Mills when Haunt Me came up, that you guys were up there for that. Also,
I had about 12 seconds in that, so that was good.
My elbow was in there, it was good. And then the Supernatural, the Assault-terror from the Shadows. And so I guess what my question was, and I know these are, well, I know like Haunt Me being more of like a smaller scale, but I was just curious, like.
Haunt Me's huge. What are you talking about? I love Haunt Me.
Yes, but I'm talking as far as like the
They're awesome.
big major company. But just what is that like the other side? So a lot of people that got into the paranormal got in from watching shows, and then some people get into it and then they realize, oh wait a minute, it's not like activity every. So I wonder that process of seeing the other side of it, the show side of it, and how was that for you? Seeing it. So it's no longer just the investigation. You've got the camera crews. You've got, does it give anything more? Does it take away from? It wasn't. No.
So with the Supernatural Assault, Paul Tate, he lives in over in Farmington area. He puts great stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it was my wife and I both were interviewed by Paul.
Yep.
And it's a documentary, basically, is what it is. And so it's just him, me, and a camera. And
okay.
Him, my wife, and a camera.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like this big production or anything. And then with Haunt Me, same with them. They had their producer and a cameraman, and then they stood off camera and just asked me questions. So that wasn't really a big production or anything either.
But it's still
Not
exciting.
that famous, yeah.
Still exciting. Don't take it away.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool.
Well, so
Great.
how do you guys kind of feel about like how television kind of portrays the field and how you see it on TV? Like, do you feel like with these public events, do you feel like you have people coming to these events like expecting to see like?
I was gonna say
it's gonna like they're gonna Zach Bagans like the show, or like I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and we actually, that's something that we try to make sure to point out to them. Travis specifically and Toby is, hey, this isn't one of these TV shows. Like,
Gotcha.
They'll be at a place for a couple days, and what you see is a culmination of it. So you might get like a half hour of the actual show, and there might be some stuff going on, but that's over the course of a long period of time of investigating.
Yeah.
Whereas us, like, you're in different groups for like maybe an hour, and you might get nothing.
Yeah.
And it's. I know no one likes to hear that, but it's the truth of it. We make sure that we're very honest about the stuff that could happen. It could be absolutely nothing that shows up. But to that point, with some people coming in with this high hopes, some of them, even after you tell them that, they still come in with a boatload of energy. And this is one of my little things about how we do things anyways, but they every little noise is something to them. Or they'll have the SLS camera,
Sure.
and they're like, oh my god, there's 5 people here. It's like, well, you're looking at that chair from an angle that to me would look like a person too, so that's why the SLS sees it. So sometimes you have to crush people's hopes and dreams a little bit to let them know, like, just to be honest for the sake of integrity, and but for the most part, people are pretty good about it.
Yeah,
that's one thing we want to make sure that our integrity stays intact. So, before the events, I'll email every ticket holder and tell them what to expect, what to bring, how to behave while they're there, and we go through that. It's not a TV show. It's what we can tell you is anything that does happen is real.
Right.
You might not experience anything, but if it does, then it is going to be a real experience.
Yeah.
Well, see, I like that. I like how you kind of throw that out there. Like,
definitely.
it's like you guys aren't faking this. Like, this is.
It's an interesting dynamic, because I know when we had a chance to do our first kind of group event that we had hosted, one thing I was wondering, like, are people going to show up just expecting everything's going to happen? The lights are going to go off, pictures are going to fly off the way. They just want the whole. They want every haunted episode ever in their one experience, and we did. And we did the same. You got to kind of start them off by being, listen, there's a lot of sitting. Like, what you don't see on the television shows is the sitting, the waiting, the quiet, just the downtime.
It's very hard to be quiet, though.
Yeah.
We're usually just joking.
That's true too.
Making fun of
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to do EVP sessions with a group of 10 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if
somebody's
everyone's standing upright, because especially if you're in a building, like, someone's going to move and everything's creaky, or someone, like, even especially on the voice recorders, like, someone like moves a zipper and you'll hear that. It can be a real pain in the butt sometimes.
Oh yeah, they're like whispering to each other and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's the words right there, is when someone is whispering to someone else. It's like, if you're going to say something, say something.
Say it
because
out
if you
loud,
whisper, that comes through as.
It sounds like demons.
Oh my god, there was something there. Right.
Yeah.
It's a demon. Right.
No, if you guys like get like big evidence like after the fact of like these big events, like, do you guys share it with these people that have come? Like, is there any way that you could like?
Yeah, we so like Parafest, we usually after the event we'll post evidence that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
We also ask the participants that have gone to show us what they got for evidence. So sometimes we get like random pictures of things and different little recordings. So that's kind of a neat way to let everyone kind of see what happened and share the experience.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because I didn't really think of that, because obviously, like, we have we've done one event and we have one coming up, and I was just like, if we get stuff, because we are going to have like voice recorders and everything like that.
Use the almighty hashtag.
I would totally love just to be able to continue to share that, to kind of keep people like still interested and be like, oh, it didn't happen then, or you didn't hear it happen then, but hey, this is like something did happen. Yeah. So no, right. I like that idea and stuff like that.
If you look at Parafest from last year, up on the second story in the offices building, or the offices rooms, my brother had kicked a baseball and said, "Can you move it?" And the baseball had come to a complete stop, sat there for maybe 30 seconds. Then all of a sudden the baseball moves and rolls.
It did like a full rotation, didn't it?
Yeah, and that's something we posted to the page afterwards too.
Awesome.
That was actually Jason Ellsworth. He'd come out to Swan Island with us. He was the one that actually captured that on the recording and was able to post it for us. So
really, I'm gonna have to go back and check that. I don't remember that. I'll have to go back on and check that. I'm kind of like mad at myself that I didn't check that out. So you guys have mentioned that your group is obviously with you guys, and then also your wives as well.
Yes.
So when you guys investigate, and I'm just kind of asking this just because both Richie and I, obviously, we are kind of like a couple family investigation. Do you guys kind of sometimes feel like you kind of are like in tune with your significant other, with your wives or anything like that? Like, Travis, you're just like, heck no.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. I think we've all worked together for quite a while now, so I think we kind of understand each other, and it's almost like I can look at Jeff and he knows exactly what I want him to do or whatever. Same with, he looks at me and gives me a look, and that tells me to shut up because I talk a lot.
Pineapple.
He hates that. So we have we have two code words.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to hear these two words often on the radio in Maine.
Yeah.
So it's pineapple and Mississippi.
Yeah.
So almost every spirit box session we do with a group of people, I always say, can you say the words Mississippi or pineapple?
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, there's a girl in there, and she was doing the Estes method with the headphones, the blindfold. So I say, can you say pineapple or Mississippi? And she says, pineapple. Do you miss me? I'm like, close enough.
Where was this happening, or where did that happen?
That was at the mill.
Oh, that was at the mill? Wow. It seems like the mill is like pretty like hopping, like.
I'm very excited to check it out this year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for it.
Yeah. So do you have like any like special like plans or like little tidbits that you can share about like ideas and thoughts of what's going to happen at this year's Parafest? Or are you still trying to keep that under like lock and key?
Well, I think we told you that pretty much we do the same thing every time. So no, I'm just kidding. Don't put that in your podcast.
Right, coming off like a jerk.
We are working on something different this year for the night before Parafest.
Yeah.
Which would be like a small dinner, possibly with a mobile bar. Have you ever seen those?
No.
It's like a trailer that's got a bar in it. It's a built-in bar. So a friend of ours has one of those that may be willing to do that. And then do a gallery reading with Chris.
Yeah.
And then do like a meet and greet and hangout session for the people, all of our thousands and thousands of fans,
Yes.
That's awesome. No, that sounds like a good idea. And you do have thousands and thousands of fans. What are you talking about?
So that's gonna be something a little different than years past with Parafest.
Well, that sounds super exciting.
Then one year we tried to do the sleep in the mill overnight investigation.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was rough.
They got to investigate with us, and then maybe around 1 or so in the morning we said, all right, lights out, everyone needs to go to bed. That was rough. It was cold. It was the blowers in there are really loud.
No, because this is October.
The sleep wasn't great. Nothing about. Actually, we stayed there the night before that too, didn't we?
Yeah, you, me, Toby.
And Toby.
Yes.
Yeah, because I ate a 6-hour-old chicken bomb sandwich at about 1 in the morning.
Oh boy.
Laying on the floor.
I heard something. No, that's just my stomach.
That's such a great location, though, and something that people that do weddings and stuff there, they'll come there. Ray will let them in like the day before, and they'll decorate it all up, and then they ask Ray if they can spend the night there, and he's like, yeah, sure, just sleep on the floor in the big room. Well, while they're sleeping, they'll hear, you know, those old rollers, the carts that they used to use in the mills
Sure.
to move
Yeah.
fabric around and stuff. They would hear those up on the second floor while they're laying on the floor down the first floor.
Wow.
There's none of those in the building anymore, but they swear to God they hear those still moving around at night.
The old metal wheels rolling around on the wooden floors.
That's really
Yeah.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
hearing like something like that, like the residual sound of that, like how much energy, like that's the stuff that just kind of blows my mind. It's just like how much energy, what does it take to be able to make that residual imprint, and still for it to happen after how many years? Like it's just, that's the stuff that just keeps like me like just going, like in this field, is stuff like that. It's just hearing stories
especially
like
in
that.
a place like that mill too. Like it was people's lives. Like blood, sweat, and tears went into maintaining that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much emotion with anyone involved in a place like that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we live in a mill town here where we are at, and I've always felt the same way. These old mill buildings, I mean, these were generational buildings. You had, you know, sons, fathers, grandfathers, you know, it's kind of like the coal fields, like, or the coal mining. Like, my same thoughts on why the old mines can be so haunted is that was, like you just said, your entire life was spent based around these mills, and you put it all in there. Your home life, your work life, everything was brought to you there every day, and it was just stuck there.
Now, have you guys gotten a chance to get into the Sanford Mill?
No,
we have not. No, they don't let a lot in there. It's tough to get in, from what I've heard.
Now, I remember reading a story about a teenage girl or something that was found in there too, right?
Oh, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that.
She was kidnapped and murdered and found at either at Sanford Mill or the Biddeford Mill. I can't remember which.
Oh, that is just heartbreaking to hear.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Thanks for bringing us down, Travis.
I know, Debbie Downer.
I was trying to create a segue to Locating the Lost.
I was actually gonna, oh, look at that. So I was actually going to bring that up. So you guys had a podcast called Locating the Lost. Do you guys mind kind of telling us and telling everybody at home about that?
Good, Travis.
Just an awkward silence, guys.
For me,
I'm not in self-promotion. Travis is all about it.
Yeah. Honestly, I prefer the missing people and unsolved murders in Maine to paranormal hunting or ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like, I actually am more into that, I think, lately. But it's probably due to the damn Unsolved Mysteries and Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Got me into missing people and just, you know, the wondering of what happened to them. But we started this 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, we've got 2 seasons out right now. But basically, we focus on the state of Maine, but we've also done some cases from Canada as well. Mm-hmm. And I know we had set up a lot of talks with people out of state, but then they either don't show up or they decide last minute they can't do it because it is pretty traumatic and emotional experiences that they are dealing with.
And obviously, we're not going to push them if they're, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wow. So you talk with, like, have you interviewed families from Maine, like, with all of that? What's probably the one case that has probably stuck out the most for you guys?
Well, for me, there's 2. Kind of the reason why I think, as far as I'm concerned, why I wanted to start this, and hopefully, I don't know if Jeff agrees or not, but is the Ayla Reynolds case. 20-month-old baby goes missing December 17th, 2011, from a small home that happened to be actually the next street over from where I live.
Oh, wow.
I had and this ties to the paranormal thing too, so I had a dream about her 5 days after she went missing and where she was. And I had told my wife about it, so she knew exactly the same spot where it was. And then 2 years later, my daughter is about 1.5 years old, and we're driving on the road in that same spot. And she says, "Daddy, there's a baby in the trees."
Nah.
What?
Swear to God. So I said, "Is it a boy or a girl?" She said, "It's a girl." And she misses her mommy. Like, wow, it's crazy. So I've actually talked to Trista to try to get her to talk to us on record, but she can't because of the civil suit and everything.
Yeah.
But that's how Locating the Lost had actually started as a documentary film series for the 7 missing kids since 1971. And we're going to use paranormal equipment in the series to try to make contact with the missing people.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of travel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, hey, let's do a podcast. You can sit at home,
podcast-
research these cases, and
Yeah.
do it that way.
I think keeping these stories
I
alive.
was
and
gonna say
just,
you must get a sense of like really, obviously there's the intrigue behind doing it, but also just the kind of you're keeping these stories active, you're keeping them, in the public eye. So the service you're doing in that way too.
Yeah, and that's for me. Like I wasn't really into the whole thing. I did it because Travis wanted a hand with it, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, not a problem. Like it was interesting. It was it was compelling for sure. Like that was a big help for me getting into it with him. But the after doing it, and like that's really, for me at least, that's what it is it's so sad to hear about, to think about how many people's like family members have just gone missing, and there's not a single answer. So some of it is, yes, keeping their story alive, but it's also hopefully putting a little bit of pressure on the right people maybe to say, what they know about it, or get the police more involved in some of these cold cases, because that's a really hard part about it, is people who have been missing for 20, 30 years who don't have a shred of information given them by the police,
right,
or anything like that.
Literally just in the dark about what's going on and not...
Yeah, completely.
I'm not sure if you guys follow the page at all on Facebook, but I like to come up with different posters and call out the people that may have done something to the person, and get the public riled up about it, just to make their life uncomfortable. That's something I enjoy doing.
Travis made a poster.
Hold on, I had to go on and check these posters out.
So there was one, specifically for the Ayla Reynolds case, there was one that Travis made a fake Time, I think it was a Time magazine cover, not even kidding, a fake Time magazine cover with the father of Ayla, Justin DiPietro.
Yeah.
And my fiance is a store manager of a Dollar General. Someone came into her store asking where that copy of the magazine was, because they thought it was a real magazine.
Oh my god.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know, we're looking at some of them right now. Oh wow.
I know. So you also share like people that have been found safe and everything like that, which I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Because it gives people like kind of just the peace of mind behind that. But oh man. No,
even active cases, when people go missing, I'll reach out to the family and say, hey, can you give me a little more information? This is what I do.
Mm-hmm. I'll
make a poster for you as well. So I make, a lot of times the posters you see that are circulating are something that I've made for missing people.
Yeah.
It's important to get the word out early.
Yes, no, I totally agree. But I remember the Ayla Reynolds, that happened because we had just had our daughter like a month before this had all happened. So it was just kind of like
eye-opening.
Very eye-opening to as new parents and
Yeah.
everything like that. I'm just like, wow, like this stuff is it's happening and
even
it's sad.
in Maine of all places.
Exactly.
Like that's a weird thing, is thinking about that, is how a little girl can just go missing.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that is literally as much as anybody knows, is they might have found some blood in the basement, but like nothing.
Sure.
Nothing
Yeah.
about her since then.
It was heartbreaking. So do you guys plan on making like season 3, or are you guys kind of taking a break?
Yep.
Or
No, we just recorded an episode last night, or Monday night, I'm sorry.
Monday night,
awesome.
yeah. So we should have another one coming out probably next weekend.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, if I get it edited. My audio, not all of my audio. Half of my audio, I accidentally hit my mute button on my recording software, so my audio didn't come through. So I have to use all of. Fortunately, Travis recorded the whole thing on his end as well. So
Oh,
I had to
man.
use his.
That's the case of Diana Etsty. Have you heard of that name?
No, I haven't.
Disappeared in 2016. You probably haven't. Like, no one talks about her. She's a 71-year-old lady that she left her lights on, the TV was on, her keys and her wallet was on her table, vehicle in the driveway, and Diana just disappeared.
So yeah, 71 years old.
Any case
Just
of
up
like
this-
dementia, anything that would have...
That's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the weird snippets about this. is that she was actually tested for dementia and Alzheimer's. What was it, like a month before?
Oh,
She went
3
missing.
weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks before.
3 weeks
by
before she
her
went missing.
brother.
Yeah, she never showed any signs of cognitive decline or anything like that from what I had heard.
Yeah.
There's no signs of that, but her brother insisted that she was tested, and the results came back that she was fine. Everything was well. She was living on her own. She never had she had family members, but she didn't have a family of her own,
Right,
husband
right.
or kids or anything like that. And apparently she was really taking care of herself just fine. There's the yard work that she'd hired people for and stuff because she couldn't do that at 70.
Yeah.
But just one morning she was and I guess they're not entirely sure of when she was missing, because it was November 2nd was when
official missing
the official
person.
day, because they sent someone to look, but that's just because they noticed lights and stuff on,
Sure.
but no one had noticed that before. But yeah, it was
So
a really weird case.
With the brother insisting that she be tested, guess who the power of attorney and the guy that gets everything she owns?
Of course.
The
The brother as well.
The brother. He sold her
Right.
house a year after she disappeared. That sat in probate for a while because she wasn't dead.
She had 2 houses. She had one in North Carolina as well.
Yeah.
That she had moved. She had just moved back to Maine. A year? It wasn't even a year, was it? She was back
Yeah,
in Maine.
she had just retired. Less than a year later, she disappeared.
Yeah.
Moved to
Now,
Maine.
now, when you
Less than
guys
a year
do
later.
these episodes, how often do you guys run into like legal walls as far as where you can't communicate? Nothing yet. No.
Well, that's good.
Nothing yet. Well, I can't say that. I think we've had a couple of things that it was suggested, like we should probably not leave that part in, because we do try to make sure that, because sometimes a lot of accusations are thrown, so we make sure that it's clear that this is just sort of my idea, my opinion,
Gotcha.
speculation sort of deal, because for our sake and the people talking, we don't want to necessarily throw slander, but at the same time, opinions are just opinions. So
Yeah.
And what's cool about it is we've actually been tied into helping find some people.
I was just
I
gonna
think
ask
up
that.
to
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 people now we've helped locate. One was a woman that disappeared in 2005 from Ellsworth, Maine. Her husband's story was that they separated, she got divorced from him, she changed her name, and she moved out of state. So the sister didn't really buy that.
Yeah.
It seems a little odd that all of a sudden she would just stop talking to her family. So
Right.
last year, the sister reached out to us and asked if we could try to help her with helping find her sister. So I said, have you filed a missing persons report? Because I don't see anything on the state site or anything. And she's like, no, we've never actually filed a missing person report. So I said, well, go down to Ellsworth PD and let them know that, what's going on, and I'll start sharing it on our page. So I gave it like a week before we started focusing on it on the page and sharing things. And so then I get a phone call from Ellsworth PD. And they're like, are you the owner of the Located Lost page? I'm like, yeah, I sure am. And they're
That's
like,
me.
Well, that depends. Because it might be Jeff. I don't know what I'm saying.
I said, do you know anything about this missing person? So I told them the story, and I said I had told her to go down and see you guys, file a missing person report.
Yeah.
So apparently she hasn't done it yet, but I gave them her information. In the meantime, I had located the name that the husband had given. I located a woman in North Dakota with that same name. And then when I did background check on it, it showed previous address as Ellsworth, Maine. So I was pretty sure it was the sister anyways, but then the cops end up getting photograph evidence for the sister to prove that, yeah, that was actually her sister. She, left an 18-year-old son and moved out of state and
she
never
just
looked back.
up and left.
She is up and
So
left. Wow.
Yeah.
But then with the others is one woman actually used to work for me 2 years ago, and she went missing. Her daughter hadn't seen her in over a week. So I'm not sure like the family dynamics or what took place, but the daughter also worked for the same company I worked for, so she reached out to me and asked me about it. So we made a poster, shared a picture, got shared like, I don't know, 800-900 times, and then later on that day her mother reached out to her and said, I'm okay, I'm just doing whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that those kind of had some
Yeah.
good endings to it, because sometimes it's
At
not
least
always
there's closure, right?
Exactly.
And that's the thing with a
Yeah,
lot of
you
these
can figure out
cases
why
is-
afterwards, but at least you know that they're there,
Right.
they're okay. Like, now I'll figure out why they just took off.
Right.
Tell us.
And even with some of these cases, like the one that gets me the most was our first one the first podcast we did with Luger Belanger was his name. And I don't remember the wife's name.
Diane.
Diane.
I'm sorry, Linda.
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 He went missing, I think, in the 70s, wasn't it?
Yep.
And so this poor lady has been wondering what happened to her husband for almost 50 years, and like she just has no answer. And she, at this point, it's not a matter of necessarily even what happened, just where is he, sort of deal. Just I want to be able to put him in the ground, that sort of deal.
Right.
Just some sort of closure at all.
Yeah.
And that's to me what seems to be the most important thing for most families is just I just need something. I need some sort of closure. If they're alive, if they're dead, how or why, like you had said, can come later. It just needs some sort of closure.
Yeah, to hear the pain in Linda's voice too. They got married. She was 17 when they got married. They had 2 kids by the time she was 20. So she's 20 years old. He was 24, and then he disappears. She raises her kids by herself. The kids have to hear stories in school about, they found your dad's leg in the lake, and different things like that.
Oh my God.
The reason why I screwed up her name is because her name is Linda Perkins, and there's a Diane Perkins that went missing in Augusta and was found, I think 4 years ago now. But I have all these cases in my head. I kind of mess up names, I guess.
So yeah, you have like a lot of material for a lot of like upcoming seasons.
Well, and I'll say
and
too,
like
Travis,
cool.
you had said that this is kind of something you're almost finding yourself favoring now over the paranormal, and like just like the goosebumps sitting here just in these couple of conversations, like I can see where that same kind of passion goes towards this. And it's weird to use the word passion when you're trying to find a missing person and you're trying to help somebody, but I mean it's that just emotional passion that
right.
You really get tied into it emotionally.
It's almost like you get called to do it, like
Sure.
The lady that we interviewed on Monday night, her husband was actually the woman's relative. So I don't even know if she'd even met Diana Esty. Maybe once or twice she'd seen her or something, I don't know, but she had really no connection to it. But this poor girl thinks about it day and night.
Yeah.
She's got pages of notes about conversations she's had with people, and like she's so focused on it. And like she's told us the other night, she was never into true crime or these types of things, but now since looking for Diana, she had said, if you guys ever need help with anything, I'd be willing to help you. And so now it's becoming a passion of hers, and that's kind of like what happened to me with Ayla. Ayla dragged me into this, and then we kind of expanded. We got to meet Kim Moreau's dad. Kim Moreau went missing May 10th, 1986 from Jay. And Richard, her father, is just an amazing man. Even to this day, 34 years later, he's still refreshing her posters on the telephone poles in Jay and Livermore Falls.
Yeah.
He's still very actively looking for his daughter.
Yeah.
But we had somebody that reached out to our page to say they had found a binder that had a lot of information about Kim's case. This binder is thick. It's like 500 pages of photocopies and of just different things about Kim's case. There was notes that was in her locker, notes she'd shared with her friends. There was the items that were listed in her locker. There were the actual statements from the people when they were brought into PD. So through some research, I found out there was a guy named Bob Gallant that Richard had paid to collect this information for him, and then him and Richard had a falling out, so Richard never got this information. So we were able to bring that binder to Richard. We made photocopies for the state police as well.
Yeah.
And to see like Richard just going through the binder and like almost tearing up when he's reading certain things that his daughter had written.
Yeah, seeing her handwriting, like just all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking. Like good, like kind of in some aspect, but
Powerful.
Yes, powerful.
Yeah, powerful.
That is a good word for it. That is. Wow. So just really quickly, so have you guys ever brought in, like I know how you guys were talking about like using like paranormal tools, like trying to do like the video, like YouTube series and stuff like that. Have you ever brought in like any type of psychic or any type of work into the podcast, or helped like with investigations in that aspect?
Well, so to begin with, like you were saying, the documentary was actually a lady named Pamela Fredo that had started with me and was going to be the psychic for the series.
Yeah.
But since then, with the podcast, I've been really trying to keep it out of there. Like, there's been a few times mentioned about about psychics, and I don't think a lot of the people that follow our page or follow our podcast know what Jeff and I do, as far as the paranormal thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this last episode, there's, half the episode is talking about what psychics said about what happened to this lady.
Yeah.
So I think we'll maybe dig into that a little more.
Yep.
Jeff's not, hopefully I don't upset you by speaking this way. Jeff's not a real firm believer in psychics. He's more skeptical than I am. I mean, I'm skeptical too, but I think there are people that can have these feelings and senses and kind of know stories.
I'm skeptical of people, so I don't trust
Yeah.
people. That's more of what
Well,
it is.
unfortunately, and I can see where that comes from. It's not necessarily doubting the ability; it's doubting the person's integrity to say whether or not they actually have the ability and what they're trying to gain from it.
You have to be
Whether or not
skeptical when it comes to the like psychics and mediums and everything like that. Like, it's good to be leery.
all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's healthy to be skeptical in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
So,
If you're a psychic and you reach out to a family that's missing somebody and they just want answers, the first thing out of your mouth shouldn't be, I charge $75 an hour.
Yeah, right.
No.
Right.
Like,
Right.
If you want to help. If you don't want to help, stay the hell away.
Well, right, because the family can then choose to use that information however they see fit. They can either buy into it and let them lead them in a different direction, or, or they can say, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. But yeah, once you start including, I'm here, just sign this check here and we'll get started. Yeah. No.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I take Visa or MasterCard.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
And like with us, we're doing this voluntarily.
Right, exactly.
I spend hours researching cases, making phone calls for people sometimes to state police or whatever, asking questions for them. I think that too bad there was more people like Jeff and I that are willing to do this. Maine's a good-sized state, and there's a lot of missing people.
Yeah.
There's a couple other podcasts that recently have started out too, and those girls both are fabulous. The podcast that they do, I don't know how much they spend time helping the families or keeping in touch with the families afterwards.
Yeah.
They sound like they maybe just more report on the case, but that's still helpful.
Yeah.
It's still getting the
there's-
word out. Yes, exactly.
There's cases that you've never heard of, and maybe something clicks someday that, oh wait, I remember that.
Well, and it's interesting too, and I'll end this part with this, is hearing you guys talk about it, because I also find myself like I have a high interest in just that field in general, and so there's like an enjoyable listening standpoint, but to hear like what goes behind it and to hear that it's just you're doing work. It's not just like these podcasts are. Yes, they can be for enjoyment of just listening, but also like you guys you're putting in work. You're helping families. You're again just another way it can kind of tie back into the world of the paranormal, where you're giving people answers. You're helping the best you can. It's a great service. So it's we certainly appreciate it, and I know your listeners appreciate it as well.
I feel like sometimes I have to, the person we're interviewing that's supposed to tell us about the case, that I kind of find myself correcting them on some of the facts sometimes, because I do learn so much about these cases.
Yeah.
Travis is like this whole thing is Travis. Like as far as like the doing the research and stuff like that, because people will come to the page and say, I'd like to speak to you, and I don't go anywhere near the messenger when it comes to locating the lost, because I'm terrified that I'm going to step on some toes. Not that Travis has ever like bitched about any of it, but he has so much going on with this stuff that when even something comes through the messenger, like, hey, like I'd like to speak to you about something, I'm just going to leave that for Travis.
Yeah.
Even though like he does all of this, though, he really does. He does all the posters and stuff like that for the page, and all of the getting a hold of people, making the phone calls. He could ask me to help, but he doesn't. But he doesn't. Yeah, right. Yeah, he does an awesome job, though. He really does.
Awesome here.
Well, guys, before we look to wrap up, I just want to give you guys the opportunity to kind of shout out if anyone is coming to look for you guys, whether it's for locating the lost, whether it's for GRIM Paranormal, where can some people find you, and what do you want them looking for?
So, actually, I'll mention some things we're doing this summer and fall. Yeah. So, Unexplained Maine is having a camp out at Acadia East Campground, September 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we're invited there to do a talk on paranormal.
Awesome.
So we'll be there. And then September 24th and 25th, we're going to be out to Wilson Castle in Vermont to give another team a hand out there.
I know. When Yeah, when I heard you were going, I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah, we'll be there.
A long weekend stuck with Travis.
Right. And then, of course, Parafest Maine, October 16th.
Awesome.
That's in Vassalboro, Maine, 934 Main Street. And then Fortean Fest. I don't know if you guys heard that.
I think I've heard about those kids. They're a bunch of jokes.
6th.
That's actually my
where's
birthday, so I planned it so everybody has to come because it's my birthday. I'll just guilt everybody into it.
So, awesome. And so obviously you guys, Facebook pages, is that the best way to?
Right. And to get a hold of us, there is still a GRIM page, isn't there? Pretty sure there is. Okay.
There's a bunch on Parafest page though.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Parafest Maine, and then Locating the Lost. Those are the sort of 3 pages to get in contact with us.
Awesome.
And is your
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The podcast is available on basically any podcast platform.
That's what I was gonna
Spotify, Apple. We also have a YouTube page where you can watch us actually talk to the person, kind of like what we're doing here now. So we really enjoy that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I hate being on camera.
Oh, I do too.
Awesome.
But that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for coming on. We super appreciate it. And again, for everyone here listening, go check these guys out over at the GRIM Paranormal page, over at Parafest Maine, Locating the Lost. Check it out on all your podcast platforms. And guys, we super thank you for your time tonight and coming out and hanging out with us.
Yeah, we really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. And say goodnight to your cat for me.
Yes, we'll do. Yeah, sure. Awesome. All right, guys. Take care. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.